Okay, so you're joining me near the Grand Canyon. We have an F-18 on the runway here. So you're joining me near the Grand Canyon. We have an F-18 on the runway here. And we'll be joined today by RAF Fighter Pilot Ben, who flies the Typhoon. And I'll introduce Ben in a second. Our general plan is to take off, head over the little river here, and then drop down into the Grand Canyon Valley over there, and work our way down there with a little bit of help from Ben, trying not to hit any of the walls or the or the ground, and end up at an airport on the other side of the valley. So Ben is connected now, and say hello, Ben.
Hello.
Yeah, so I've known Ben for a very long time, good friends, and he's very kindly offered to come onto the stream today to teach us a little bit about being a fighter pilot in real life. Maybe sharing some stories, some exciting stuff, because I know he just got back from Red Flag as well recently. So yeah, we'll get this underway in a couple of minutes, just to make sure that we're not missing out on anyone who wants to join us on the server. We're in the North Europe server at the moment, and we'll be taking off momentarily. Okay, so we're right back in the cockpit now. Lovely stuff. Got any tips, Ben? Anything to start us off before we get going? Other than use afterburner.
Always use the reheat. Always use the reheat. Yeah, I mean, at this point, really, just making sure the cockpit's in good state. You know, if you've got any maps or anything, they're easily accessible but stowed away, and just looking ahead at the weather and getting ready to go.
I suppose it's a big thing for you guys having a really neat cockpit, because you'll be flying upside down for some of it, I suppose, and you don't want it all floating around your head, do you?
Exactly that, and it happens more than you think. So you have to make sure you've got everything stowed before you do any sort of aggressive.
Wow. So can you, at any point, during transit or on the flight or anything, can you just roll upside down? Is that a thing?
I mean, yeah, if you want to.
How cool
it's funny
is
though,
that?
even though you can, you quite often choose not to. Yeah, it's quite uncomfortable.
Oh, really?
But yeah, as long as you fly at your assigned altitude, it doesn't really matter what orientation you're in.
Nice. Cool. Just saying hello to the chat. Hey everyone, how you doing? What server are we in? We are in the North Europe server. Let's just double check that one. North Europe, yeah. So what I'm going to do then is I'll take off and just hang around the north here of the lake a little bit, just to make sure there's nobody else who's going to be joining us on the flight, and to get the event going in Discord as well. Nice one. Okay, so that's all set up. Cool. Right, let's get this thing on the road. There we go, reheat. It never gets old, this.
Yeah, it's the first time you do it, it's really quite exhilarating. You really do get your head pinned back to the seat.
Really?
And your main concern really is not overspeeding the gear. I think, at least in the Typhoon, you don't want to be moving the gear any faster than 290 knots. And it's amazing, within seconds you're at that speed. So you really got to be alert.
We're at 285 already. Jesus, that's like seconds. Have you ever flown with an F-18, like as a wingman or anything?
Quite, not as a wingman, but I've flown with them quite often.
Oh, really?
So obviously out in Red Flag, there was a lot of growlers out there, which is pretty much an F-18. And in fact, just on Thursday, I was flying with some F-18s
cool.
around the Poland area, which was quite cool. Just after watching Top Gun 2, so it was good to see one.
Nice. And what's the kind of difference between that and a Typhoon? What's the kind of major differences? Are they similar in terms of performance, or?
They're actually very, very different aircraft. So the Typhoon's gifted with a lot of excess thrust, considerably more than you get in the F-18. And but the F-18, the way it fights really is it's known as a radius fighter, so it can really get its nose round and pull a lot of alpha. Which unfortunately in Typhoon we're more of a rate fighter, which kind of translates to sitting at 9G and melting into the seat.
Wow, so lots of G-force for you guys.
That's why we have those big engines.
Nice. So who do you think would win in a one-on-one with an F-18 or a Typhoon, or does it depend on the pilot?
Honestly, as they said in Top Gun repeatedly, it's the pilot.
It's all about the pilot.
Yeah. But I'd say an F-18 is definitely up there when it comes to BFM. You definitely be working hard to beat it. It's
so BFM is that? What's that? Basic.
Yeah, basic fighting maneuvers. Sorry, yeah. So just dogfighting as you know it. Yeah. Okay. Things like the F-15, the F-16 it aren't really too much of a snag for the Typhoon, but the F-18 being a radius fighter, you really have to think about what you're doing.
Right. So I suppose with being like a radius fighter, would that mean that they'd be at a low power setting when they're doing a lot of the kind of dogfighting, or is that?
No, they've got to be quite careful how they use it really. So yeah, they can pull back the stick and get the nose round, but as a result of that, they wash off all their speed. So it's kind of a one-trick shot really. Once they've done it, then they have to sacrifice several thousand feet to get the speed back on the jet.
Right. So that would probably explain why I end up crashing a lot in this in flight sim, because all my speed just suddenly disappears, and I always wonder where it's all gone. And that explains a lot, really.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Cool. Do you play flight sim yourself? Are you
I have got
MSF?
it. I have got it, but I tend to enjoy more flying the Cessnas than the F-18. I don't really fly the F-18 much. But yeah, I mean, coming around doing this low level now, I mean, there you go. There you wash off your speed, now you're going to crash.
Yeah. Thank God for slew mode, eh?
Yeah, so
there'll be a lot of this. Don't worry. This is the first of many.
When we're flying a level, we'll tend to be at 420 knots.
420. Wow.
420, and if it's like operational training, we can go up to 550, which we do occasionally, and 250 feet. So we wouldn't usually fly lower than that unless we were on operations and it was necessary.
Crazy. So speed of sound is what, like 650 when you're down at that kind of altitude, or?
Yeah, so it's kind of mid 600s. Yeah, I guess it depends.
400 miles an hour. That's amazing. At such a low level as well.
Yeah, especially when you're doing 550 knots and you're rolling, up to like 150 degrees angle of bank as you're going over hilltops and stuff. It's
Jesus.
It's quite exhilarating, but it certainly focuses the mind.
So have you got to kind of keep positive G on the aircraft? Is that why you'd like roll inverted when you're going like through?
Yeah, I mean, for
turns
Typhoon at least, we're up there plus 9G to minus 3, so we've essentially got an extra sort of 6Gs if we roll and pull. Plus, it's just considerably more comfortable as well than having the blood rush to your face as you're pushing minus 3. And it looks cooler as well, which is quite important.
Yeah, that's the most important part, isn't it? Because to be fair, good flying always looks cool.
So right now you'd be doing, when you enter low level, you do your sort of entry to low level checks, which is just ensuring you've at least got one visor down, because if you take a bird or something, it's a sort of an extra layer of protection for your head.
Yeah.
Make sure your lights are on. You get the lowest pressure setting as well for the day, and you put that into your altimeter. Set your rad out to 230 feet, and then make sure you've got a good map selected for low level, and set up your radar as well. We kind of have our radar out to 40 miles when we're at low level, just to pick up any sort of low flying traffic.
Right.
And then safety altitude as well, which is quite important. You have to know the safety altitude for where you're operating, just in case you go into cloud and you have to abort, kind of what height to climb at, to avoid you from hitting any terrain. And that little abort we can do, it just takes anything less than sort of 5k visibility, we'd do it, and it's a 4G 30 degrees nose up maneuver, and just in a few seconds you'll be up at 7,000 feet, which keeps you safe of any terrain around Scotland or the UK.
Wow. So that's so how long would it take you to get down to that kind of up to that kind of altitude?
Oh, I don't really know. I mean the main thing, it's actually quite funny. So flying the Typhoon, we're quite limited in how we can climb. So we're limited to less than 10,000 feet per minute rate of climb.
Really?
So we climb at 350 knots, and we only select 8 degrees nose up. But before that rule came in, we were taking off in dry power, which is without using reheat, and they were climbing at 25, 30 degrees nose up at 350 knots, and it was absolutely fine.
Jesus, that's insane. What's that, like 20,000 feet a minute at least?
Yeah, we had a spate there with setting off TCAS for airliners in airways. So this new rule was imposed that we're limited to 8 degrees nose up, which is a shame.
Wow.
But occasionally you'll get cleared for a performance departure, which authorises you to do an unrestricted climb.
A performance departure, that's a cool name.
Yeah, there's 2 different types we can do. The first is you just put the reheat in, and you get airborne, and you just keep holding the stick back. You just have the stick all the way back into your chest, and you just climb vertically.
Wow.
But the cooler one we do is you get airborne, you get the gear up, and you just fly it level along the runway. By the time you get to the end of the runway, you're doing about 500, 550 knots, and then you just climb. You just climb at 0.9 Mach, and you'll be up at 40,000 feet in Mach 1 in a little over 90 seconds. So it's
40,000 feet in 90 seconds. That's
40,000 feet in Mach 1. I think it's Mach 1.2. Yeah, it's quick.
Wow.
And yeah.
I bet that puts you into your seat.
It really does. Yeah, and the reheat's is insane. I mean, like in certain fits, will accelerate at 50 knots a second at low level. The reheating, so it really does pin your head back to the back of the headrest.
Jesus. Yeah, I'll definitely wake you up in the morning, wouldn't it? Don't need a coffee, just need a performance takeoff.
Yeah.
Do you ever have it where all the blood kind of, like, I suppose it would rush away from your nose, so and your eyes? Does it affect your sight at all doing that kind of thing? Because it's not what we're really designed to do as humans, is it?
Yeah. So there is. It does. So essentially, pulling G does really affect the body. We have to wear a special G-suit. Essentially, we have trousers that inflate, a jacket that inflates, and socks that inflate as well.
Yeah, really. Yeah. So that like keeps it all the blood squeezed around you.
Yeah. So that
limbs.
That's right. Yeah, and it's actually really impressive, and it means that you can sit at 9G, and although it's uncomfortable, you don't be concerned of blacking out.
Nice. We've had a couple of messages in the chat actually. Yeah. So the guys on the Discord, you guys have got your own private channel. We can come and join you actually in a bit. But I wanted to be able to have an all to myself for the first part, just to just to get some good questions and get some good tips and stuff going. But yeah, I mean, we'll probably migrate onto the Discord channel so you can all have a chance to chat to us and to Ben and ask him any questions you've got as well. We've got a question from Tristan as well. Ben, it's directed at you actually. Have you ever had any loose articles flying around your cockpit?
Say again, sorry.
It's a question from Tristan. He says, have you ever had any loose articles flying around the cockpit before when you've been rolling inverted or when you've been doing any kind of this performance related stuff? But I suppose it's probably all it's all nailed down, I guess, is it?
So we have, yeah, I mean, like the pen that you carry and stuff's tied to you so it can't escape. We do carry a little nav bag which has got all our documents in it, flight reference cards and maps and what have you, and that just sits on top of the gang bar where all the switches are. So yeah, if you roll upside down and push, yeah, it does float up occasionally. It's, but it's all completely safe. It's just yeah, we could just do like a big map bin or something to put all the documents in, but we don't have one, sadly.
Yeah. I suppose a tray table will probably be a bit much of a bit too much to ask, wouldn't it, for your lunch? Well, yeah. How do you actually eat your lunch?
Yeah. So I mean, most of the UK training sorties we do, you're only airborne for sort of 90 minutes, 2 hours. So, and you're pretty busy as well. So eating's not really very high on your list of jobs to do, but some of the longer sorties, especially if you're crossing the Atlantic, we'll have a little packed lunch, and you pretty much pull it just to the left-hand side of where the HUD is, like you can see on your screen now, just above the coaming. Cool. Yeah, that's about it. And it's so it's not too roomy, the cockpit, and it's certainly not an airliner. The food isn't great. I think when I was flying back from America, I got given a yogurt and no spoon.
Oh no! I bet doing one of those kind of performance departures, having yogurt would probably make it bulge out a bit, wouldn't it? And have
Yeah,
you ever had
exactly.
exploding yogurts and stuff before? Or?
I've had it exploding back in crisp before as
I bet that was a bit of a
climbed up
surprise.
about 48,000 feet, and I just had a pop, which was quite concerning at first. I didn't know if I had a pop surge or something, and it was
Yeah.
it was crisp next to me.
But that was a bit of a relief. So we've got. I'm just climbing out of low level so I can try and get a perspective on exactly where we are. Because we'll be aiming for an airport which is near-ish actually where we are at the moment. Oh, we've got Do Not Be on Fire as well, and 22 Tempest flying with us. So the foresty area over here that you can see, I think, is near that airport. Actually, it's on the opposite side of the canyon, so we'll be flying down this little stretch here, and then popping up into the airport, and then we can do some Top Gun flight challenges as well, which should be fun. There it is, just off the wingtip there. So do you do kind of, I suppose maybe not in the actual aircraft then, but do you do any kind of like spinning training or anything like that? Is there a
spinning training?
Yeah, in the aircraft. Like, have you ever spun one of these before, or I mean,
Yeah, so through flight training we do it on all aircraft types, but Typhoon, because of the flight control computer, you can't actually spin it. It's impossible to spin it.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so whenever you get to a slow speed, it'll just start shouting low speed recover, and then if you don't do anything about it, it'll say FCS override, and it'll just take control from you and then fly you back into a normal flight regime. The throttles will automatically move forward, and it'll roll and put you in the best.
It's quite clever then.
It is good. So it is really handy. We even have a button called a disorientation recovery function button that you press, and that'll do the same thing if you get disorientated in cloud. The disadvantages are, like I was saying earlier with BFM, it really limits you to how slow you can go. You know, like the F-18, like you did a moment ago, you can pretty much stall it in the air and flick the nose round, which could be really handy during BFM.
Yeah,
Typhoon let us do that. Put
the brakes on, it'll fly right by.
Yeah, and it doesn't manoeuvre particularly well at slow speed either. It just wants to be going fast all the time.
Right. I mean, I suppose that's what it's designed for, so it makes sense, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it's designed to do. Just be a rate fighter and just fly around in circles at 9G.
Go faster a lot.
Yeah, and those engines are so powerful that if you get above about 0.96, 0.97 Mach, even at 9G, it will just continue to accelerate, and it will just go supersonic, and you'll just be at 9G, drawing a circle in the sky.
Jesus.
30 miles wide, and you're just stuck at 9G. And it takes you a few seconds to realise what's going on, and then you have to bring back the power.
So, what kind of speed? I mean, I'm going far too fast for this, really. So I'm going to do I'm going to buzz the tower, go around and try again. But what kind of speed would you be coming in on approach for? Like what kind of speed would you be aiming for?
Yeah, so we fly 200 knots downwind, and then short final, you're coming in about 150, 160 knots.
Okay.
It depends on your fit though, because if you're carrying, so we actually fly an alpha approach rather than a speed. So we just fly ideally 14 alpha, 14 degrees angle of attack.
Right. Okay.
And obviously, depending on what you've got strapped to the jet and how much fuel you've got in, that can vary from up until about 190 knots.
Right, gotcha. So yeah, I suppose if you've got bombs strapped on board or stores, it'll change
exactly,
it.
Yeah.
It'll change it massively. Oh, I've had a new subscriber. Just check. I'll give you a shout out in a sec. So yeah, 200 knots downwind then. So here we go. This is a bit. This is again that thing we were talking about losing all your speed. yeah, done that.
Yeah.
It's actually, it won't really power itself out of that very well either, will it?
No. So joining the circle, we'll join at about 350 knots, and then we do a kind of brake turn into the circuit, and that washes off all your speed and gets you down to 200.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, you go.
Is that like a running brake?
Exactly, they're running a brake, yeah.
Nice.
And that's flown at 350 knots, which is a shame really, 'cause it'd be good to. I know there's stories of past with people coming in at 550 knots, but I don't know. I think it blows air traffic's mind.
550 knots.
You've got people coming through. Yeah, if you've got people coming in that speed, so they stick a speed limit in our rules, which is a shame.
Yeah, I suppose when you're trying to manage about 5 or 6 of these all going 500 miles an hour, it's probably not. You're probably going to be quite quick on the
Yeah, exactly.
on the radio. Yeah, because I was doing some flying near a military base actually fairly recently, and the calls were all really rapid fire. Like the radio they were really hot on it. You know, I suppose when you're going that kind of speed though, you need to be hot on the radio, don't you?
Yeah, I think they just like everything to be brief and clear.
Yeah, makes sense. Probably need a little bit more speed than 120 knots though, eh? I might try one of these performance takeoffs that you were talking about, Ben.
See if the F8 can do it. There's not many jets that have the thrust to weight ratio that can do it, but I think the F18 would be okay.
Nice. Let's see. I can't quite see where we're supposed to be landing. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
So at this point now, we'd select 3 degrees nose down, or, well, 5 degrees to start with, and then refining it to 3. Okay. And then you see that E? It looks like an E in the HUD.
Oh yeah.
It's just dropped off the bottom of the HUD. That's your angle of attack. So we have the same icon in our HUD as well. And yeah, you kind of want to be pulling just to the top of it. So when you pull outside of it, that's when you wash off all your speed.
Right. It's a bit of a long landing on that one, I think. But, we might end up in the dirt at the end of this, the runway now. So, as opposed to like all the commercial airlines, I suppose you're not really trying to make sure that the first class passengers don't spill the drinks in one of these. So you've got to, I mean, am I right in saying you'd probably put it down a little bit harder than you would in a commercial airline, or?
The Hawk we landed quite firmly. Typhoon's actually absolutely fine. You just get to 30 feet on the rad out, and then you just select 1 degree nose down, and it will just kiss the runway. It's quite easy to land, to be honest with you.
That's cool. I suppose being a delta wing, it's got quite a high nose attitude anyway. Is it? Or
yeah. Well, we land at 40 degrees angle of attack, and yeah, that delta wing's brilliant for trying to bleed off speed because it's got so much excess thrust. We really struggle to descend quite a lot.
Right.
So especially if you're in a clean jet, even descending at idle, you'll go supersonic, which obviously you're not really allowed to do in the UK. So we end up having to do like split S maneuvers to descend, which just involve rolling inverted and pulling 8-9G, and just keep doing that repeatedly to get the height off and not build up too much speed.
Wow.
And that's entirely the delta wing that does that. It's just like we just essentially use it as an air brake. You just roll and pull, and you'll just soon wash off the speed.
Roll and pull. So I'm trying to turn this around here, but unfortunately the nose wheel steering in this jet isn't particularly good, or I haven't got it mapped correctly. Maybe somebody in the chat or Discord can give us a pointer or two, because I'm currently on the grass. We've had a request from Sam in the chat to do a flip, so I'll try and do that one on the way out. Yeah, this is definitely not normal ops, is it, really, for a fighter jet taxiing around on the grass? But
No.
get there eventually. I might just have to take off from this taxiway. Because yeah, my nose wheel steering is just not working now. Okay, let's go for it. Does it ever get old, that? No. I don't think it ever could.
Hasn't got boring yet.
Yeah.
But
And how long have you been flying the Typhoon now?
so I only got to the Typhoon October 2020.
Right. So just I suppose with COVID, how did that affect your flying? Was it?
How was what? Sorry.
How did with, the whole thing with COVID? How did that affect your flying and
Yeah.
your?
So
Were you still operating
um,
normally or?
yeah, it was just normal business for the Air Force. So there's obviously a lot of COVID rules and stuff that came in that we had to abide by, but we were still flying just as much, which was good. It's obviously quite lucky to still be in work, and not be locked in the house like many were. So
Yeah.
very fortunate there. And
I
yeah,
suppose being a
we just
single cockpit as
fly.
well. Being a single like a just one person in the cockpit probably helped as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I wasn't sitting next to somebody for the next 8 hours breathing on them, which probably helps.
Yeah, yeah. Have you I remember you saying you've been to Red Flag recently as well. Was that what was that like? I mean, I don't really know that much about Red Flag, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, red
my
flag is phenomenal. It's the biggest exercise in the world, run by the Americans out of Nellis Air Force Base.
okay.
And red flag started on the back of the Vietnam War when the Americans found they were losing loads of jets essentially getting shot down, and so they needed to come up with some form of training to minimise that. And what they found is statistically, if you survived your first 10 combat missions, you were 90% more likely to survive to the rest of the war.
Wow.
So it was just about getting experience. So on the back of that, red flag came in, which was designed to try and simulate war as much as possible. And that was also why they started Top Gun as well. So they started red flag and they started Top Gun in the same year. Start training pilots better. So I went in January this year. It's a month long, the exercise. It's just us, the Americans, and the Australians there. They run a few throughout the year, so they have ones later on in the year with the Italians there and the Germans. But we go to I guess because of the special relationship we have with America, it's just us, the Americans and Australians that are there, which is really good. It's really high-end training. It's bizarre, just taxiing out of Nellis. You just pass hundreds of F-35s, F-22s,
Wow.
F-15s,
A lot of technology.
A-10s.
How many aircraft do you have like flying at once then? Is it a fairly big exercise, I imagine, with so many countries being involved?
Yeah, just a little under 100 aircraft at any one time.
Wow.
And it is insane. So
with that much
everyone
metal
out.
flying around the sky, it must be relatively, well, I suppose it is simulating actual war, but I suppose it's probably quite dangerous in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah, so everyone's got their own assigned altitude level, which does keep you clear. But you really are dynamically, manoeuvring, so that does make it more tricky. To be honest with you, something that I didn't really think about until I got there was the departure and the recovery, getting in and out of Nellis with all those aircraft.
Logistics, yeah. I suppose if one guy has a fuel emergency, yeah.
Well, everyone's recovering on minimum fuel, so quite quickly you'll end up in a train, as it's called, and you'll be number like 30 in the train, and they're fetching you all around Las Vegas, and you've got McCarran International Airport there as well, which you've got to be aware of. So it's really cool. I mean, looking out and seeing the Vegas Strip. But,
yeah,
it's really
right
the
next
most
to Vegas, isn't it?
high-end flying I've done, and probably ever will.
Yes, I suppose it's a great one though for getting your skills up, isn't it? Something like that. It must take a lot of planning and coordination though. Do you get involved in that sort of thing, or are you more on the?
Yeah, that's right. So it's 1 day planning, 1 day flying. You do that every week. The sortie's usually about 3 hours, and you'll go and you'll tank a couple of times during each sortie. And then the debriefs go on for quite a while, and they're quite thorough. And they're not afraid to call you out if you do something wrong.
I suppose there's an awful lot of experience there, I bet as well, which is great to be able to learn from.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, there's billions of dollars of aircraft flying. You'll see B-2 bombers, B-52s, all these aircraft flying around you. It's really cool. It's eye-watering, to be honest. But it's a great opportunity as well. A lot of people do their whole frontline career and never go to red flag, so I was very fortunate to be able to go, especially so early on in my time on the front line.
Nice. Is it a thing where most squadrons will go and they have a selection of people from each squadron to go, or do you have to be invited, or?
So the Air Force rotates which squadron goes every year. So my squadron was chosen to go this year. And yeah, they do have quite a few requirements. So you have to have had 500 hours on the jet, be combat ready, which is like a qualification we get once we've proven our expertise in an array of areas. So yeah, it was my woman's turn to go this year, and it was, as I say, I was just really lucky to be able to do it in the first place.
Nice. And so I suppose you'll probably be dropping quite a lot of munitions and weapons and all the rest of you using your weapons if it's actually simulating proper war. So did you do any of that?
So we Typhoon this year, we're not live dropping. We have done it before though, and other aircraft were live dropping, which is quite cool. You'll see F-15s dropping like GBU-54s, and you'll see the explosions on the training range, which is really cool. Another really interesting thing about where we train as well is Area 51 is right in the middle of the training area, and
really?
it has a huge 30 mile by 30 mile box around it, and they're pretty strict about it as well. If you edge into that box whatsoever, you immediately get sent home, and I think a few people got caught out with it and ended up being sent home, sent back to their unit.
Wow. So I suppose they must be really strict with that kind of thing.
Yeah, we've got like a camera pod, and we're not allowed to slew it over there to see what's going on. But it's weird because you can't even look at it. Wow. See what's going on. There wasn't anything too exciting when I was there, but there's obviously a lot of developmental stuff there that they don't want people seeing.
Yeah, that makes sense. No aliens then? You didn't spot any aliens this time around, did you?
I didn't see ET, unfortunately. No.
I've been trying to formate on Do Not Be on Fire over here, but I haven't managed to catch up with him very well. And we've got Ninja 6RR, and we've got Commandant Wolf as well, flying around with us. There's definitely some good screenshots we can get of these. Do you want to switch our chat into the main Discord one then Ben, and we can chat to some of the guys on the Discord then? And
yeah, sure thing.
If they've got any questions for you that you might be able to answer, I know some of it's probably classified, so feel free to say you can't if you're not willing to
yeah, sure thing.
Anything. But yeah, we'll migrate into the Discord chat then now. So if you go to that link I've sent you on the server, and then just click on the group flight. I'll send you a link to that one as well. Hi guys, how's it going? We've got Ben in. Excellent. I've been trying to keep up with you there, Ian, but it just hasn't worked, even with Afterburner.
Yeah, the reason you couldn't form up on me was because I was trying to form up on you.
Oh.
See, comms is important.
Absolutely. Well, at least we're on the same voice chat now, which is good. I think we've got Ben as well.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay, where did you go? Well, I guess that's the first. I guess that's the first question. Situational awareness at this kind of speed is difficult to maintain. So how do you do it normally, Ben? Is it a case of someone's the lead and someone's the wingman, and the wingman just stays on the wing, or what happens if you get broken up in cloud and if you get split up?
Yeah, so when we're low level, we're usually in fighting wing is the name of the formation position, and that's kind of, we sit around half a mile from each other. And then if we're going down a valley and we come across some bad weather, usually what happens is the lead will do a low level abort, which involves, like I said earlier, 4G, 30 degrees nose up. as the wingman, you need to take a 10-degree cut left or right, making sure not to cross the flight path, and do the same thing. Then we can use our radar to build up situational awareness, find out where the other person is, and join up from there.
Yeah, I guess that in that situation, things can happen so quickly. You need a well-approved, well-understood procedure to get yourself out of that mess. And that sounds ideal. When we've done, when you do group flights in the sim and everything, it doesn't matter if you plow into the side of a hill. You just hit Y a couple of times and you're up in the air again. But obviously in real life, you need a bit more sort of procedure and a bit more understanding of what the other aircraft's going to do, because I assume like anything in life, you'll lose comms with your lead at some point. You'll have outages, stuff goes US all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cloud, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's not uncommon, but it's really not really much of an emergency at all. It's I think low flying, I think because we do so much training, you just get really used to it. Especially during basic fast jet training, it's pretty much all you do. So yeah, these agreements and procedures that you have, they're well ingrained in your mind, so you don't really have to think about it. Just conducting a low level abort is pretty straightforward.
Wow.
What is important when flying jets at low level is appreciating how fast you're going, and how to get around the corner. Essentially, how to fly down a valley. You've got to be really careful. We have a 250-foot bubble around the aircraft, so you're not meant to go closer than 250 feet towards anything. So cliff sides, valley walls, and we'd make sure that we pick a correct path through the valley, ensuring that we always keep the granite as close to the canopy as possible. Observing that 250-foot bubble, because what you don't want to be doing is going belly up to something that you can't see and end up just sliding into it. Especially if you see the Typhoon at low level, it does look like it's skidding through the sky.
Yeah.
I was going to say that it's like an F1 car, isn't it? In that it's actually not flying the line that you think. It's actually slewing along kind of a trajectory. So yeah, I guess it would be very easy to come around the corner, pull hard, and belly into a cliff face or something. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's probably the highest priority when you're low flying, is just picking a good route, picking a good path, and being aware of that. Birds is another risk. Something we train for, bird strikes. Luckily, Typhoon's its engines are pretty powerful, and when it has digested a bird, you don't really notice. It just kind of coughs a bit and carries on. So they're the two main things when we're low flying, and then of course airspace as well. Especially as, like I said, if we have to do a low level abort, there's always times, there's occasional times where if you were to abort above safety altitude, you'd be going into an airway. So then you'd have to think about, who am I going to speak to if I go into the airway? I need to support emergency. And these are the things that run through your mind when you're flying at low level. And hawking the fuel as well, because you can never have enough fuel, and it goes quickly, especially at low level.
Yeah. Keeping an eye on all that stuff at once, and also having the effects of G-force and everything. I mean, it must be quite a lot to deal with.
Yeah, and we don't really low fly just for the sake of it either. We're usually trying to do something, so we've usually got like a time on target to drop some simulated payload 4s, or we'll be doing low level evasion training, which means you'll be flying at low level and there's someone else out there trying to find you and shoot you. So you're constantly looking around, trying to see where they are, thinking about exactly where you're going to go, using the training and best cover that you can, really. So these are all things that are running through your mind. So actually the low level flying is just the domestic side of it, really, and that should be the most natural bit, because really you're more concerned about the tactics.
Well, I guess that's really what all the training's about. So all your emergency stuff's covered, you know what to do when anything happens, and then I guess you actually have spare brain capacity to actually fight the plane, I guess.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
But yeah, so we don't really make a big deal of the departure and the recovery of the landing. So I've sat on flight decks before and heard the landing brief and where risks and threats are briefed. But that's just more the domestic side for us. So our debriefs will focus 99% on the tactical side of the sortie, not the takeoff or landing.
I suppose that's a kind of given then. It's like that's not really the main reason why you're there. It's
exactly.
Yeah, I guess you're not training to get around the Mach loop in a fixed time. You're training all your reflexes and everything else. So when you do have to fight the plane, all the boring stuff of actually flying a plane, I guess, is already covered. It's drilled in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously nothing can prepare anyone for actual warfare. But I guess if you've practiced it enough times, then yeah, I guess it becomes a bit of a well, I've got everything else covered. What's the actual mission? And then you can focus on that, I guess.
Precisely, and it's the same reason why we have red flag as well. It was to simulate war as as close to the real thing as possible, so you get used to operating in that stressful environment.
So it just becomes the norm. That's really good.
Yeah.
So Ben, have you got any tips for landing on an aircraft carrier? Because I'm about to try this for the very first time, and I'm not sure how well it's going to go.
I mean, I've not done it, so I can't. I probably can't give you too many tips, but I'd say make sure your hook's down, which is needed to.
Sense. Oh yeah, got the hook down.
Grab the rescue cable, and now if you look at your speed in the HUD, looks like your hook's down, which is good. You look at your speed in the HUD, you kind of want to hold it inside that E bracket I was telling you about. So I reckon around 130 knots. So yeah, that'll probably see you quite well.
Is that the E bracket that's kind of on the left here?
That's right. Yeah, you're in the middle of it now. So that's your angle of attack, and if it's anything like the Typhoon, you want to land kind of with the flight path indicator halfway up the E bracket.
Okay, so I'm a little bit, possibly a little bit low.
You're a bit fast at the moment, so you want to bring the power back. That's what I'd say.
Right.
But this is how you'd fly a Typhoon. I'm not an F-18 pilot.
It's probably quite similar. I mean, I imagine I haven't actually ever seen one of those E brackets before, so I'm glad I know what it is now. The more you know, eh?
I'd say land short.
Yeah, I think the Super Hornet does all its flaps on landing for you as well. So all you need to do is manage your speed, I think. Well, and obviously your glide slope.
There was a question actually from Pete in the chat. What the flap limiting speeds he says for something like this. I guess it's probably. Are they quite? So there's a lot of leeway, or is it?
I'm not sure about the F-18, but on Typhoon, the jet doesn't trust us to use flaps, so it does it all for us. The only our pre-landing checks are just gear down, and that's it. So the flaps, the slats,
right.
The flaperons, whatever they're called now, they do it all. They do it all for you. So I'd say you probably had a 10,000 feet per minute rate of descent there and bounce.
Yeah, it was probably one of the bigger bounces I've done. Does kind of count as a landing, doesn't it? It counts as at least a touch and go.
The F-18s, when they land in reheat. They select max reheat,
Really well.
just so if the hook does skip over the cable, they've got an option to bolt, as it's known, and to go around rather than landing at idle and then you're kind of scuppered, because the engines will take 5-6 seconds to spool up otherwise. So
right.
So yeah, there's a fabulous documentary by PBS on YouTube somewhere, and I can't remember if it was the Nimitz. One of them was going down to Australia, and they actually had proper pitching deck, so the deck was like 30 plus minus feet, and the amount of jets that they had in the air, and then the amount of jets they had to put up to tank the jets that were in the air, because everyone was bolting, just bouncing over the wires.
Wow,
it's nuts. But yeah, on that particular one, they're actually considering a couple of guys just jumping out alongside the ship because they could not get it landed. And
I suppose that's your only option for 100 miles or however.
Well, they were nearly 800 miles from land, so there was no diversion.
Yeah. Oh god, that was I'm about to eat shit, darling. Yeah, I ate the side of the carrier there. One more go, and then I'm getting better slowly, very slowly. But I suppose this is what sims are for, isn't it? I mean, you guys, like, there's full motion Typhoon sims, aren't there?
We don't have full motion, just because there's no benefit really. I don't think, and also then it'd have to be able to go upside down and what have you. It probably costs quite a lot of money. But we do have sort of 360 degree dome simulators that you sit in and you can see all the way behind you.
Nice. Are those made by the BAE then?
Yeah, so BAE Systems run them, and a lot of pilots end up going across to BAE Systems to work the sim. It's
nice.
It's quite
specialist skill, really.
Yeah, I mean, we do our IRTs in the sim, and we do most of a lot of our tactical training in there. It's great for practicing how to drop bombs, just getting like an understanding of the systems on the jet, and it lets us fly or simulate flying operations. So it's good practice beforehand, and we use them as well for handling checks. So if you haven't flown for quite a while, you go and do a handling check in there, and they're pretty good. I'd say it's definitely not fully indicative of flying, but it's definitely a good stopgap. It's better than not flying at all.
Yeah, there we go, landed it. Third time lucky.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to do it every time now.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Oh, Aussie did a really good job. 1.6 million points. I'm here on 98,000.
Yeah, that's training and practice though, James.
Absolutely, yeah. Now I know why I'm not a fighter pilot. So
when you doing training to become a fighter pilot though, James? Or was it helicopters? I can't remember.
No,
now.
it was helicopters for me for a while, and before
that's
before
right,
switching over to the commercial stuff. Yeah, I know Ben through the Air Force though. Yeah, like, have we ever flown together, Ben? I think we might have done once.
I remember. I would have remembered
it's
if
a long time ago.
James.
Yeah,
I definitely would have
yeah.
I kind of think you would remember, James.
Yeah, I'd think. Yeah, I think I probably would, to be honest. It was a while ago, though. To be fair, it's probably nearly 7 years ago now.
It was like 2016, wasn't it?
Yeah, 6 years ago. Yeah, mad. It's gone so fast.
Yeah.
Does anybody fancy doing a bit of formation, or a bit of aerobatics or something, or because we've got at least a couple.
Yeah,
of
where are you, James?
Are you in game at the moment? Are you?
Yeah, I'm still out at our.
Find you.
Well, yeah, choose a spot, any spot.
Should we go for Miramar?
Miramar. Let's go around the Mac Loop.
Oh yeah, because Ben can actually tell us where exactly the Mac Loop actually is.
I don't know if I've got a flight plan. Well, Wales.
Yeah, he could always just give us a left and right, I suppose. Ben, can you see the stream at the moment?
I can, yeah.
Am I right in saying that the Mac Loop starts just
That's
north
about
of
it there?
Yeah, and then it goes kind of around here, and is it out there?
Oh, now you're asking questions. It's not that big. It's probably not the best bit of low flying we have in the UK either. Really, it's in my personal opinion, I think it's overhyped slightly. But yeah, I think it's.
What about the Lake District? Let's go north or south of the lakes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, the Lake District's much better. That's we go there quite a bit. It's known as the Ho Chi Minh Trail. We start around Ulverston Bridge, and then we just head north, going up Windermere. And then you've got the option of going, taking a right and doing Ullswater, or carrying all the way up north.
Yeah, go up to Derwentwater and out through Skiddaw. Okay.
That's it.
Barrow in Furness. That's probably the closest.
Okay, cool. What? Oh, flight sim's just crashed for me. So give me a couple of minutes.
Okay.
I'll meet you there on the runway. Thanks very much for joining us, by the way, everyone, and particularly Ben as well. Actually, I think you're. What are you up to tomorrow? Are you flying tomorrow, Ben?
Yeah, I am. I've got quite a big trip tomorrow. I've got an 8-hour sortie.
8 hours.
Myself and another pilot. We're heading off to sort of Poland area.
From the
which is
UK?
great practice. Yeah, which is good fun. We fly armed as well. We're just going out to provide a NATO presence, and it's good because it's plenty of tanking practice.
Nice.
So we'll probably plug about 5 or 6 times, which is always good practice. The more practice you can get, the better. It's a bit like trying to throw a basketball through a hoop. You just need to keep doing it again and again and again. And once you start getting comfortable with it, it's usually when you screw it up.
Yeah, typical, isn't it?
I don't think you ever feel fully confident. It's always quite daunting when you, especially if you're in a cloud and you're just trying to intercept an A330 to tank, and just out of nowhere you'll see this huge aircraft just come out of the cloud.
Ooh,
and you'll formate on it, and you realise just how small the Typhoon is in comparison. But they're quite good actually. They always try and create quite a calm environment around the tanker, which is good because, especially coming off some of the missions that we did on like Red Flag, you'd be working pretty hard, and then the tank is just a nice moment to kind of relax, take it easy, slow it down a bit.
Nice.
And yeah, you can spend. It does take quite a while to tank as well. That's one thing that surprised me. It takes about 20 minutes.
Really, just to refuel?
Wow. Yeah, it doesn't feed fuel that quickly, so the whole join, refuel, and depart will take you around probably about 15-20 minutes per aircraft.
Wow. So would you wait then with your wingman, or would you go off separately?
Yeah, so once you've filled up, you just wait on the right hand side of the tanker,
right?
And then once you're all ready, you get cleared to depart 1,000 feet high. So you'll just climb over the tanker and then head off. And tanking's it's a really interesting one because they teach you when you're going through the operational conversion unit, when they teach you how to fly the Typhoon, they go into a lot of detail on how to join the tanker, what to do if you have an emergency, how to depart the tanker. But they don't really teach you how to tank too much. They don't really teach that in great detail. It's just one of those things where you have to kind of turn up and learn yourself. And it's definitely challenging at first. It's quite daunting, especially at night, because it's not really lit up very well, and you don't have a light on the end of your probe. So it's quite testing. And the biggest thing you've got to make sure you don't do is look at the basket, which sounds bizarre, but if you look at the basket, your formation flying just drops out the window, and you'll soon be in a PIO. Yeah, and it's really easy to get into a PIO, pilot-induced oscillation, behind the tanker. So actually, you just use your peripheral vision. So when I'm tanking, I'm just looking forward at the back of the engine, and I'm just in the corner of my eye. I'm just trying to keep an eye on the basket, but not actually look at it. Just using my peripheral vision.
So you can't even look at the thing you're trying to get the
no.
Into.
It's a huge gotcha. It's a classic mistake. When I first started tanking, I tried looking at the basket, and it's horrible. It's amazing. You just can't fly formation when looking at the basket. You just end up all over the place.
So do you use like with the formation references and stuff? Do you use like all the stuff that you would ordinarily in a lighter aircraft, or is it? I mean, formatting on a 330 is probably. Do you just pick 2 points on it and make them in line, or?
Yeah, we do have references for the tanker, and when we're tanking, we have. It'd be quite difficult to explain, but there's a few markings on the wing that you'd line up, but they depend on the weather as well. So if the wind's if it's quite a turbulent day, those references don't really work. And even if you are on the references, you close all the way in, and in the last sort of 3 feet, the basket will hit the wake turbulence from your probe and will move away. So you have to adjust anyway. So one solid reference will get in. So yeah, it's all. They recommend using 1 to 2 knots of overtake, and you bring it in, and the last minute it will try and jump out the way, and you have to joust through it,
wrestle it.
Yeah, and they always say miss with grace. So if ever the basket does something funny or you miss it, you just come back on the plane, just come to idle and drop back. Don't do any huge lunges around the tanker. Especially the tanker crews get very, very jumpy about it. Understandably, they're not ejection seats, are they? And so you do have to be quite calm and be patient. And if you're in turbulence, I mean, we call it the angry octopus when the hoses start moving up and down, and they'll go 30 feet high, 30 feet low, and you just have to sit there and wait for a moment when it stops, and then just quickly plug in.
So I'm at one end. I think we're at opposite ends of the runway, Ian.
Yeah, I think we're going head to head.
Should we try and do a bit of formation then? Should we take off in opposite directions and then try and formate on each other? Or
yeah, if you head south and then come along the coast to the northwest,
nice.
sorry, to the northeast.
If you lead, I'll formate on you because I'm not very familiar with this area actually. And we can take some directions off Ben as well if he's watching the stream.
Absolute blasphemy.
Right. It really does pick up speed quick, doesn't it? 100 miles an hour already.
James, if you hang a left and start going along the coast, I'll come up behind you.
Okay. There was one thing I got to talk about formation, which was try and do as little movements as possible when you're the leader. Make them really smooth and delicate. To make it easy for her. So I'll try my best here Ian, to not do anything.
Okay, I'm going to aim for about 450 knots.
Okay, cool.
Although it's incredibly difficult in this plane.
Yeah. Yeah, speed
because it sounds
all over the place, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you go to idle and it takes ages to slow down, and then suddenly you're stalling. You're like, oh my god, get the power back on.
Shall I just do like a loop around this bay then? I'll fly in a kind of a really wide circle around the bay.
If you look at the coast, I'm in front of you now.
Okay, cool. I've spotted you. I'm trying to turn towards you. Oh yeah. I'll come and formate on you then now.
Okay.
.450 knots we have. James Hudderson's put a message in the chat. Good to see you, James. It's going to take me a minute to catch you up, I think.
Burners, burners. So I'm just at the southern end of Windermere now.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm about 20 seconds behind you.
Thing is, the temptation is to throw the spoilers out and slow down a bit, but then you'll overshoot me.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. So you're doing 450 at the moment-ish?
I'm doing 445.
Okay, cool.
Well, indicated.
I'm doing nearly 700, so I'm going to sail right by you if I'm not careful. There you go, I can see your lights.
Okay,
now.
at the north end.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just behind you. it would be great if we could at some point do a bit of flying with you, Ben. But I think your internet connection might preclude that for the moment.
Yeah,
you were saying it wasn't particularly fast, but it'd be great to get you on again if you'd be keen for that.
Absolutely.
Cool. I'm hot on your heels now, Ian.
Well, I'm lost already. Took a wrong turn. I was trying to get the Windermere Keswick Road. I guess that's one of your waypoints, Ben. But
yeah, absolutely. We'd start in Ulverston and then head north. Windermere, and then just continue heading north really until you get to the top, and then we'd come down the Appleby Valley, and then from the bottom of the Appleby Valley there's a big junction nicknamed Mercedes. It's a huge valley junction, and from there you can either head left and go back to Leeman and Linton on Ouse, or you can go right back to Valley.
Yeah, that does my head in, thinking of driving up Appleby, Kirby, Stephen, and across to Leeming. Just that'd take for hours in the car. I guess it's 10 minutes, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah.
10 minutes. Wow. I suppose you can probably find yourself on, well, if you take a wrong turn down a valley or something, it'd be quite a quick and easy mistake to make, but then it would take you a while to figure out what's actually going on and how.
When I was flying the Tucano, I was a bit concerned about what would happen if you get to a valley. Pretty much a dead end in it, but the Typhoon, you can just put it on its tail and just climb, so it's not too much of an issue. We've got a moving map as well, so you don't really get lost anymore. The days of stop watching map to get around the Lake District is well and truly over. But the moving map helps. The main thing we have to be concerned about is avoids. There's a lot. I think it's in Keswick. There's a riding for the disabled school that we have to avoid, and there's a lot of airspace just to the west of the Appleby Valley. One bit of airspace is called the coffin. It's shaped like a coffin, and I think it's surface to 20,000 feet. Avoid. They do artillery firing there. So that's one to that level. No.
Flak.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose you probably wouldn't have them activated over the UK, but I suppose if you had like a drone or something that was flying near you or whatever, would it set off like chaff or something? Or
so we don't usually fly with chaff and flare. We'd only use it if we're going on operations. But we do have a very good defensive aid system. It's probably one of the best in the world, and with that we can you can pick up a lot, detect a lot. And if say a surface-to-air missile shot at you, the jet will automatically release the correct chaff and flare program, and it will also essentially draw arrows in the HUD, and you fly through boxes in the HUD, and that provides your countermeasure. It's known as an air-to-surface defense maneuver, and it's really good.
Nice.
Oh, so it tells you the best way to avoid whatever that threat is, so you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah, so there's a series of manoeuvres you fly which can affect the tracking radar on the surface-to-air missile. So it'll just draw arrows, and you'll just follow the arrows in the HUD. The jet will automatically be releasing chaff and flare, and it's pretty straightforward, really. It's about as easy as it possibly could be.
I suppose they want to keep your capacity as free as possible in that kind of situation, don't they? So the more they can do,
yeah,
what it can do for you, the better.
Do you get involved with QRA at all, Ben?
Yeah, absolutely. So all Typhoon pilots are QRA qualified, and we'd all take our turn and sitting in the Q shed, as it's named. We do a 24-hour shift. So you probably end up doing about 2 or 3 each month, and it's quite good actually. It's just a nice day to be able to get on top of all your normal admin, or you can just sit in front of the TV and watch Netflix all day. It's up to you. You get your meals cooked. Exactly, yeah. You get your meals cooked for you, but yeah, there is a buzzer right next to your head. the telebrief and at any point it can go off. I think QRA scrambled recently actually, so it does happen fairly often. More so if you're based at RAF Coningsby in the south, because they cover London, which obviously has a lot more civilian traffic flying through it than the north and Scotland, which is where I work.
I've 180'd heading south again.
Yeah, I'm right next to you. I've just lost you though. I think you're just behind me now. I should be right in front of you and just above you. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I got you.
Nice.
Yeah, back in the day, Ben, because I worked for the Met Office, I used to be a weather observer at Watcham with the F4s, and
nice.
yeah, they obviously used to do, they used to do QRA, and I think it was kind of just before the end of the Cold War, and they used to spend a lot of time basically going to meet, the Russian bears coming over the North Sea, and you know what those bears are like. They'll just trundle up and down the airspace for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and obviously, an F4 doesn't have a lot of fuel in it, and yeah, the amount of times. There'll be a QRA jet go up, and then another QRA jet an hour later, then another one, and and they would just be on rotation. The whole airfield would have to get woken up because obviously, stores, and they'd have to get QRA 3 and 4 out the HAS sites and get them all prepped, and yeah, it used to go on for hours.
Yeah, well now we have a tanker that gets airborne as well. So when we get airborne, a Voyager out of Brighton gets airborne and comes to join us, and they follow us around at a safe distance. So we can actually stay up indefinitely. I suppose the pilot's the limiting factor at that point then. But there have been QRA scrambles that have lasted 7-8 hours to prevent having to have like a rolling QRA getting airborne every 90 minutes or so.
Yeah, I remember one of our F4s ended up in Iceland, had to land out in Iceland because they'd just tracked so far north that it made sense to land out at,
in Iceland.
Yeah, in Iceland, yeah. For a jolly.
We still, nothing's changed really. The Russian bears are still coming over, so it's something we train to a lot. We have to do annual sim currencies, and we have to do tests every year, and to prove that we know what we're doing and have a good understanding of how the whole chain works and how the process works from start to finish.
I suppose.
Yeah, I was interested.
Quite hot on
sorry,
it.
go on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going to say you're probably going to keep quite hot on that kind of stuff, because even if if you've got the whole day off or whatever, while you're waiting for it, it can just happen at any moment, can't it? When the alarm kind of just goes off, and you've got to know exactly what you've got to do the moment it does, I suppose.
It's probably the most dangerous flying we do, because you could be fast asleep, and then 15 minutes later you'd be flying supersonic at night at 40,000 feet, intercepting a craft fully armed.
That's the thing I always forget about. Whenever I'm flying around with a flight sim like this, I always said it to you the other day, but everything you do and everything you train for has always got to be at night in cloud as well, which makes it doubly hard.
Yeah, big time, especially trying to ID a civilian aircraft. Sort of a low, like a Cessna flying quite slowly at night would be a pain in the backside. You'd have to work hard to be able to ID it and not fly into the ground.
I just ate your dust, James, from your collision.
You really, yeah, yeah. Had a little bounce.
Yeah, a little bit of dust kick up there. Obviously, operation stuff, Ben. Yeah, just tell me to shut up if I'm asking questions. But I was interested to hear that you were actually getting armed up, going over to Poland, doing a bit of here we are. I assume to the Russians, and then coming back. I thought it was quite normal to go and sort of deploy over to Poland or Lithuania and just do a tour over there. I was quite surprised that you go there and back every day, if you like.
Yeah, we are at the moment. Yeah, so lots of mouse doing that role at the moment. It's not just the UK though. There's many other nations getting involved, and quite a few NATO nations are partaking. And we're just proving a presence. It would be. I think it'd be quite good to be based somewhere to be a bit different. I quite like travelling. For the time being, we're just flying from Lossiemouth.
Oh, you have to come back to Lossiemouth every night. Oh. Yeah, my son works on the C-17s at Bryce. Well, he works for Boeing now, he's ex-RAF, and he says, yeah, the amount of tanker operations they've got going on at the moment is ridiculous.
It was a busy time of year, especially as at the same time we're out in Cyprus and on Operation Shader. There's always a squadron going away on exercise somewhere. So yeah, we are pretty stretched at the moment, but it's good. It's a bit of variety, and I quite enjoy going away, and so it doesn't bother me too much.
Well, I guess that's what you want, is a bit of variety and different landscape, because Cyprus is obviously very different flying from North Scotland.
I imagine that a lot of the operational flying that's been happening recently as well has all been desert based, so it's fairly featureless.
So yeah, see a few trees, a bit different.
Yeah. Sorry, Ian, I interrupted you there. What were you saying?
No, I was just saying I was in Israel late last year, work, and yeah, it was pretty featureless desert, but we got some good views of Jerusalem and what have you, which was nice. Which was good to see. A bit of variety.
Yeah, I've just finished off another round the world trip, and Jordan looks quite interesting. Have you managed to get over there at all?
I haven't. We could see it though from the other side of the Dead Sea when we were flying, but no, I didn't actually fly into Jordan. Got a good view of Petra, which was cool.
Did you fly the canyon?
I think I'd be out of a job pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it'll be a bit tight.
Yeah, last minute pull up point just before the end.
Oh, there you go. There goes my situational awareness. I've completely lost you, James.
I was just about to say the same. Oh, there you are. We're still heading in the same direction, which is good.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm heading north up Windermere again, but of course you're not familiar, are you?
No, not particularly. I will just I'll just follow you there if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely fine. I got incredibly drunk on one of those islands once.
Can you remember which one it was? Or was it a bit of a swim to get back after the...
no, yeah, it was just a rowing boat job.
Oh, right, nice.
Yeah, quite often in the lakes people do that. Get a rowing boat, grab a picnic, a couple of mates, go out to an island, have a few drinks, and something to eat, row back.
That does sound fun. Yeah, I haven't been to the lakes in ages actually now.
Oh, I lived up here for 4 or 5 years.
Nice.
Yeah, quite often sit up in Langdale, and you would quite often get the jets come through there, and Little Langdale. And yeah, showing me age now, back in the day, the Americans had an F-111 painted up as with a red star on the tail and all the rest of it as part of their aggressor squadron. And it was just the most surreal thing on a summer's day, sat outside the pub, having a nice quiet pint.
And having those buzzing overhead, I bet was, yeah, that's cool. I'm gonna fly down the lake.
When your pint of beer starts vibrating, you know it's low.
They come out of nowhere as well, don't they?
Yeah, most of the time they are going for it, and yeah, I mean you can be. I think we were halfway up Dungeon Gill, we're climbing up in Langdale, and yeah, Hawk was banked over underneath us, and I know, yeah, it probably wasn't 20 feet, but it looked like 20 feet. I could have sworn I could have read all the writing on the side of the plane.
Yeah, I just ate some dirt again.
Well, training, you see, practice.
I've been doing okay so far though.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy. I mean, in the sim, it's pretty easy to fly. But it's just everything happens so quickly. You have to be on it,
Yeah.
especially low anyway.
And I imagine with G as well, to work out in itself, just being subject to, well, I suppose what, 9 to 13 G maybe, maybe 6 to 13. How many G do you pull, Ben?
So, yeah, I mean, normally we'd fly 4G around the corner, but there's nothing stopping you from full back sticking it and, using the full 9G if that's what you need to do. You will wash off the speed though unless you're in reheat, but we're advised not to use reheat just for the noise impact really. So we save reheat for just for emergency purposes if you require it. And you really don't need it actually. It accelerates that quickly, dropping power. And I think the main thing you have to get used to quite quickly is just thinking not where am I now, but where would I be in a minute's time, and you'll be 8-9 miles away. So you need to really be ahead of the jet and start planning have a really thorough next event technique. And at any moment you could low level abort and be up at 10,000 feet in controlled airspace. You need to know who you're going to be talking to, and like I said, like hawking the fuel. So it's quite a busy period, but the actual flying itself comes quite naturally now after all the training.
That's good. Yeah, I bet that makes a big difference as well, because you don't have to think about it then.
Yeah, precisely.
Well, it all becomes muscle memory and things like that at that point, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I guess, James, we fly in the simulator and we'll bomb along the ground at 12 feet and under power lines and all the rest of it. But, obviously in real life, you've got vibration, you've got heat, you've got air, noises, things rattling,
And no background music.
And no background music, yeah.
You have birds whizzing past as well. So actually, although when you're playing on these games, you always end up sitting quite low, but in reality, 250 feet is our minimum, but you tend to sit around 300, 350. It's a bit more comfortable. You don't have to work as hard. And it's quite noticeable with students in training. Whenever they're working hard, you'll see them just slowly climb, and they'll be up 500, 600, 700 feet, just because it's taken so much capacity to try and do their fuel calculations or whatever that they're not focusing on the flying. And the thing you do to get more comfortable is just to climb slightly, which they try and get you not to do, because it's not very tactically sound sitting at 600, 700 feet.
So in terms of the Top Gun movie, then how realistic was a lot of the stuff that they were talking about? I mean, about the SAM sites and about the kind of heights that you'd have to fly with, otherwise bombing radar, things like that.
So, I mean, what we've seen, especially what's been happening in Ukraine over the last few months, is the importance of low flying. And there's a real push at the moment now to do more low flying, more training, both in the flying training system and on the front line, because fifth gen aircraft have stealth characteristics, but if you can use the terrain to hide yourself, that's better than any stealth jet. So it's pretty accurate in the sense that they're having to low fly. I mean, obviously it's a Hollywood film, and lots of parts have been exaggerated. And I mean, sitting in F-14 is not something that I'm kind of trained to do. but I thought they'd obviously had some experts on the film set, and a lot of the stuff they mentioned and did was accurate, which I was quite surprised about. It was good to see.
I suppose you probably have enough aviation enthusiasts that actually do know what it's like to work with them and be a part of that world as well. And they'll be the major kind of audience.
Yeah, and they had to get it right, because if they didn't, I think a lot of people would have been annoyed. So they obviously went to a lot of effort. I know Tom Cruise was on board with trying to get it as good as possible and as accurate as possible, and they did a good job.
So I guess with the low flying nowadays, it's about being visible to your target or defenders for the least amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're lower, their missile can't travel as far at low level because of the thicker air. So we do. There's just so many advantages to being at low level. The main thing is it's harder for radars to pick you up, which helps. So I think we'll definitely see an increase in low flying over the next few years as we train to it more, which is good, because it's I mean, it can be hard work at times, but it's enjoyable. And it's, if you're like me and you're a bit nosy, it's nice to look out the window and see how many people have swimming pools and what have you. It's good fun. And there's always some aircraft spotters that are out to get some good photos of you as well.
Yeah, I think that's
above you.
Yeah, I think that's why the Mach loop is so vaunted, is because of the the photograph possibilities, because you have to go through that saddle, and you can literally be above the aircraft.
Yeah.
I always note though the American aircraft always tend to be a lot higher coming through.
Yeah, they fly low level at 500 feet, which is a shame, because it really is a big jump up from 500 feet down to 250 feet. So you're half as high, but it does feel significantly faster, and it does take a lot more skill in that bracket between 250 to 350 feet. It's much better training. And for real, if it was real life and you're at war, you wouldn't be at 250 feet, you'd be at 100 or 50 feet, flying like James has been flying. So it's
better than that, but yeah, I imagine the US guys do fly down to the same kind of level as you guys on actual operations, don't they? Do they? Or...
Yeah, absolutely. They will do. I think it's just a rule for them in the UK, but definitely out when I was out in America, they were low level.
I don't know which big city I'm over, but I'm breaking some windows at the moment.
Carlisle?
Carlisle, I think. You're still behind me, aren't you?
Yeah, no, I think I peeled off, and I'm quite far away from you now. I think you're over the coast, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm heading up to the sort of Scottish coast along the west now. Nice. Sort of Dumfries, Galloway sort of area.
Well, there's an effort though. I might see if I can attempt one last landing.
EGWY.
See if we can get it to spin. EGWY, I don't know actually. Is there a setting on Flight Sim where you can have the ICAO codes come up?
On the VFR map.
Oh, right, yes.
Just press V on the keyboard.
Okay.
See that? James got really twitchy when we said we were leaving England.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Scotland. I haven't got my passport.
Yeah. They don't do cocktails in Scotland, do they? So.
No.
Approaching the airport at nearly 600 knots. It's definitely going to spill some people's tea, I think.
It is paved. Yeah, 2.8 looks the longest.
Oh, nice, okay. I might just do a straight in then. I'm about 500 feet-ish at the moment. Where is it?
Well, stalled out.
I think I might have missed. Oh, there it is. Let's see if I can not bury this one. Oh god, one of my worst landings to date.
You going around, are we?
Yeah, I'm going around. I can definitely log 2 landings in that one though. In my logbook.
Yeah, the thing about the F-18 I find is, you try and do all the right things, do a hard brake to bleed off a load of speed, but then you see the alpha number going up, and next thing you know you've lost control and you're still doing 180 knots, and it's like, what?
Yeah, yeah. I think Ben, you had said you had to get away, didn't you, by 8:30? So feel free to do whatever
If that's
you need.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming on and for having a chat to us. It's really, really cool having some like real actual life advice, real life fighter pilot advice. I think.
Yeah,
nice
actual advice rather than internet opinion, which
Yeah.
is always much more valuable. So you're going to get into flight sim, are you, Ben?
I've already got it. I've been playing flight sim since Flight Sim 98.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that was my first one.
You still need to get him a VelocityOne flight though.
Oh wow! There you go. I'm sure you can sort that one out, James.
I'll do my
Well,
best.
the issue I have now is because all the so you don't actually physically install the game, do you? All the mapping is downloaded over the internet, and because I live in the middle of nowhere, my internet's pants, so I can't really get a good enough speed to be able to enjoy the good graphics.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, it really does rely on decent internet. Yeah. So
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, Ben.
So do you Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, that was really fascinating.
See you soon.
Thanks.
Come on, James, this time.
Yeah, maybe not. We've got Commandant Wolf in here as well, haven't we?
Yeah, he's just touched down.
No, big old bounce again. It must be something to do with my speed.
Yeah, if you get lined up about 220 knots, and I tend to put the gear down then and throw the spoilers out.
Yeah. Third time lucky.
We'll see. It's alright, I'm not scoring or anything.
Well, I had 3 goes at the carrier earlier, so I think...
Yeah, this runway's not even moving though.
And it's a lot longer, but it doesn't have an arrestor cable. I might have to stick to Cub. Okay, so I'm down at below 200 knots now, which is good. So you said about coming in about 200 knots, did you?
Yeah, about 200 knots, and if you're turning hard, you'll need quite a bit of throttle just to maintain that. Otherwise, the speed just bleeds away and you stall out.
Makes sense. It sneaks up on you there. I'm nearly at 250 knots now.
Yeah, it just climbs and climbs.
Very powerful aircraft. Oh, there's 50 knots gone. Oh dear. That didn't go as planned.
Well, it's down.
Well, it's down. It definitely wasn't pretty, and it was nowhere near the runway, but it's down. Oh, here we go. Just making it to the runway now. There we go. 2.8.
There you go. Save some of your tyres.
I can just delete that small little section and just clip it straight to where I got to the runway.
Yeah, you can edit that one out. Yeah.
Yeah, we're stress testing the landing gear to the max. That's for sure.
Well, it's a carrier aircraft, so it should be able to handle it.
Nice. If anybody wanted to enter the giveaway, by the way, there's a link in the description for a giveaway for anybody in the UK, the US, Canada, and Europe.
Well, make sure Ben enters, won't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Get him some
I
gear,
might
because
enter for him.
yeah, that'd be the way to do it. Yeah, I find that fascinating, but I also found it hard to think of things to ask Ben while I'm doing 500 knots
Yeah.
at 50 feet.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Me too.
I guess he understands that. This is why I've always said I can never be a fighter pilot, because I don't have the brain capacity. I can fly, or I can talk, but I
Yeah.
can't fly and talk very well.
Yeah.
And I guess
know
they
exactly
have
what
to
you
do it. They have to fly. They have to fight the plane. They have to talk to other people at the same time. Think ahead. All the rest of it. You're like,
And worry about the guy
oh,
that's about to shoot you out of the sky.
well, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas I'll just keep flying my desk. It's much easier.
Less
Sounds
clouds
like hard
and
work.
less night
Great.
formation and
Yeah.
weapons to be thinking about. But no.
Brilliant. Nice one.
Awesome. I'm gonna head off then, I think, and
Yeah,
stop
and
the
I get
stream
some
there.
to eat as well.
Nice one. Well, I hope you had a good weekend, and catch up again soon.
Yeah, all right, James. Yeah, take care of yourself, and obviously we'll talk on the Discord as usual.
Yeah, nice. And thanks very much for everyone watching on the YouTube stream. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, we'll be doing another one of these hopefully again soon. So tune in again whenever you can. Thanks very much.